So, a very good afternoon, everybody. A warm welcome to A Kick in the Balearics, where myself, Richie Martin, here in Mallorca, and Martin Makepeace in Ibiza start talking about Balearic football. We're talking about the Spanish second division, where Real Mallorca'a play. Segunda B, where we have Udi Poblense from my island and Atletico Balear. And then from Martin's island, there's Penya Deportiva and Udi Ibiza. Then we get onto the Tercera division, where we've got lots of teams in. And then we talk about local football. So we've got lots to talk about. Every week we get to about a Tuesday, I'll be honest, and we think, wow, what are we going to talk about this week? And then all of a sudden there's a load of breaking news, and we keep texting each other. Mark, how are you?
Yeah, good afternoon, Richie. Yeah, really good. I mean, exactly what you said there, mate, is that I'm the same thing. If nothing's happening this week, then it's boom, isn't it? And there's just so much happening. And I think Monday was the day this week, wasn't it, when it all came out? So, let's talk about Real Mallorca, Richie. What's happening over there, pal? Any latest news?
Well, firstly, I've no doubt you've read my blog, my midweek blog, haven't you, Mark?
Every week I can set my clock by it, Rich.
He hasn't. I know he hasn't. The only reason I say it is because I started this week with a friend of mine sent me the 1988-89, 98-99 Real Mallorca Sabutio team. He's got it. I don't know how he's got hold of it, but he's a bit of a Sabutio nut. He loves his Sabutio. And I was trying to explain to my kids what Sabutio was all about.
Well,
it's the modern...
With FIFA, mate, I think you're on a high nothing there, Rich.
Well, it's the old school FIFA, Mark, isn't it? Come on.
It's exactly the old school FIFA. There is no difference between sitting in front of a TV for 47 hours straight and flicking a few plastic figurines around the room.
In fact, I got a text from someone this morning, because obviously I put the blog out earlier on today, and I got a message from somebody to say that he's got his own. He's not just got football. He's got rugby, cricket, floodlights, a grandstand, an FA Cup, a World Cup, and about 30 or 40 different teams, no less.
I mean, Sabutio is one of those kind of Anaraki type things, aren't they? Because you get people who are just mad for trains and things like that. And Sabutio it's almost a religion to some people.
It is, and I think I'm right in saying they might still do it. I'm sure they used to do Sabutio World Cups and stuff like that, which I don't know how that works. But funny enough, the reason that I mentioned it, because that was the season that Real Mallorca got to the Cup Winners' Cup final, where they played Lazio in the final at Villa Park, of all places, actually.
Yeah.
Thousands of people went from here to Birmingham. Unfortunately, we lost 2-1, but it was the last sort of major sort of European, well, definitely major European final we got to. Obviously, we played in the Champions League since then against Arsenal as well. But yeah, so that was a nice thing to see. So lots of things happening around Mallorca. Well, obviously they've got such a big squad, because the reason is that they had a lot of players out on loan last year. So quite a lot of players have now come back after their loan spell, and now they're trying to sort of either get rid of them or put them out on loan again. So Sene's gone. Mark Pedraza's gone to FC Andorra. I didn't even know Andorra had a football team, Mark.
You know who owns them, don't you?
No, well,
I'm going to tell you. Gerard Piqué owns them.
Oh, really? Okay, I didn't know that.
Piqué's bought is the general manager there with a view to kind of take it on to the next level. Well, he did. I don't know if there's any shenanigans since he's kind of started crying this week in the press, but no, that's Piqué. So FC Andorra.
That's interesting. And a young boy called Pierre Cornault. They're three boys that have gone out. Also leaving was the former sporting director, Javi Racio. He's now gone to Bolivia, of all places. He's gone to be the sporting director at Club Bolivar in South America. And the guy that came in, Pablo Ortels, who they brought in for Villarreal, he's the sort of main man in charge. He's the man that's going to be looking at bringing in players and getting out. But as I say, that squad's pretty big. They need to sort of start sort of chiseling that down a bit. I think the only worry for quite a lot of Mallorca fans right now is the three players I've talked about before, which are Baba, Budimir and Valiente. They're the sort of what I would call maybe the centre the centre half, centre midfield and the centre forward, basically. The engine room of our team, basically. Budimir probably the one that would be the favourite to go because he scored 13 goals last season in La Liga. There's been quite a few teams looking at him to go in the window. Valladolid, Osasuna, Granada and Celta. But we've got a 15 million release clause and nobody's sort of come anywhere near that. I think the nearest bids have been about 6 million so far.
He's not going to go for 15 million, Richie, I'll tell you that now. I mean, that's too much money for... I mean, he's a quality player. I've watched him a few times last year, but he's not 15 million, I'm afraid.
Yeah, well, I mean, but that's the release clause. So, until someone comes up with the old Domart, then,
nobody knows. What do you think would take to get him away from, bear in mind, you're not the richest company, what would take him away? 7 or 8? 10?
Yeah, I mean, do you know what's interesting, actually? When I'm sort of looking at my blog and looking at what else have we got, if Budimir went, what would happen? They've got this boy called Stoichkov, and they put out on loan to Alcorcon last year, and he scored 16 goals in La Liga 2 last year. So he's got, his fourth best goal scorer. So they've got someone there that knows how to bang the ball in that league. So, if they could get good money for Budimir and maybe then buy a couple more players that would help the team, as in the squad, then that might be good business. But let's see. I'd be glad to see him go.
Everybody's trimming their squads at the moment. We obviously went about Ibiza last week. They're trimming their squad right down. I mean, everyone's trimming, aren't they? Because there's too many players. Football's too bloated in general, isn't it? It's bloated everywhere. People on big wages doing nothing. I'm reading all these 10, 12 million pound players who can't even get in teams nowadays. So, and I think, will the purse string, do you know what the difference is between La Liga and Segunda, Rich, on TV rights? Is a lot of money, is it?
No, there's a big difference. There's a big difference between the two, and but Mallorca do get a parachute payment getting relegated, so there'll be an advantage to the other teams. That did, obviously Leganés will, the other team that got relegated, and Espanyol will, so there'll be a slight advantage. And I think I'm right in saying 2 of the 3 teams that went down last or season before last have now gone back up again.
The yo-yo team, you need to be a yo-yo team, don't you? I think was West Brom back in the day kind of perfected that kind of go up 10-0, come down a couple of £100 million and then go for it the second time round, isn't it? So I'm hoping
let's hope.
What's your gut feeling, Richie? I mean, new manager, obviously getting rid of players, bringing players in. What's your gut feeling, Richie? I mean, what are you thinking?
Until I actually see the team play, I don't really know, because I don't really know what sort of system the guy's going to... Obviously, I don't know what sort of system the guy's going to play. I don't know what players are going to be left by the time we get to the end of the window. I mean, the window, we're going to start the season, there's going to be a month before the window actually shuts. Do you know what I mean? So it's going to be... There could be quite a few changes to the team in that first month. That might be good or might be bad for the club. You don't know. For instance, if Budimir doesn't go in the window, doesn't go at the beginning of the season, he starts banging in goals, someone's going to come in for him, aren't they? I mean, it's obvious.
Yeah.
So you've got that little bit of sort of time that you're not quite sure how it's going to go. Look, as I said to you last week, I'm not quite sure if he's the right man, but I'm going to give him an opportunity because he deserves the opportunity. He deserves the support of the fans. Talking to fans, over 7,000 season ticket renewals up to now, which is good. The only maybe the disappointing thing is that we had 16,000 last year because we were in La Liga. I hope a few more people decide that just because they were in La Liga that they could support them again this year. The club have said that you pay 25% of the overall ticket price to begin with. So my ticket, for instance, cost me €50. My 2 boys 25 each, and then that's up till the 24th, I think it is, of August. And then between the 26th and 28th, all the people that have renewed have a chance to then move seats if they want to seats that haven't been renewed. And then from the 1st of September, it's all in from then. Anybody can actually ask for a ticket from then on in. The season starts on the 12th.
It's to be expected, mate, because I think La Liga, you buy a season ticket just for the big matches, the 5 or 6 big matches anyway, which works out the same. What was your average attendance last year, Richie?
I think we were averaging about 12, 13, more or less.
I mean, so you could probably half that this year, aren't you? Probably, 6, 7 this year, would you say? Or maybe
I mean, I think we were closing when I was there the last time we were there. I think, we were close to getting to near 10,000 pretty much every game, home game, that is, of course. And obviously, as we progressed towards the end of the season into the playoffs and stuff like that, then the crowd started to go up again. So, there is no doubt that Mallorca thrive on the fans and the support, because they suffered after the lockdown with no fans. So let's hope. And
are you using that as an excuse there, Richie? No fans?
No, I think we were. I think we were not nailed on to go down, but we weren't far off being nailed off to go down. Do you know what I mean? And the only problem with the stadium, as you probably know, you've been there a few times, is that so there's a running track around it. So what they've done, they have moved one of the stands behind the goal to right behind the goal, which is good. It brings a bit more atmosphere in. So they've done a lot of good things to the ground, and the actual playing surface is probably one of the best in the league. To be perfectly honest, I think it's fantastic. So let's hope.
It's a great stadium, isn't it, Richie? It's a great stadium, but that running track just kind of, if you're a football connoisseur, you know that. Everyone will tell you that running tracks and football pitches just do not go together, do they? Because they just separate the fans just a little bit too much. And the games I went to, Real Mallorca, I wouldn't say it's been the most vibrant atmosphere. You've got your ultras there, obviously, but you do suffer from that. It's a beautiful ground, but you do suffer a little bit of atmosphere or lack of atmosphere at certain times.
Yeah, I mean, the stadium was built for the World Student Games, which I think was around about 98, 99, something like that. And, obviously then was gifted back to the city, and the city then said Mallorca could use it. So they moved from their old ground, which was a fantastic old ground, the old state of Louis. The Louis Sitjar. Yeah. It's only actually just been knocked down, to be perfectly honest. I mean, it's been there a long time. But, I mean, there's lots of plans to make that stadium different and everything else. But right now, need to get back into La Liga, I think, before we start talking about that.
Well, that's where the big money is, Rich, isn't it? I mean, let's hope that your new man can, and if you can have a couple of new signings as well, let's hope he can just push it forward and just make a run at it, mate. Because as you saw 2 years ago, if you make a run of it at the end, you get into the playoffs. You never know, do you?
Exactly. And, if we can sort of be in and around that area, getting towards the last sort of 10 games, then, I think we've got a chance. Do you know what I mean? It'd be nice to go up.
The island will get behind the team there as well, by the way.
I agree.
I'm not saying you're fair where the fans far from. In fact, New Yorkers are really hot, better football. But, when you're with 10 games to go, I think if you're in with a shout, the fans will really get behind Mallorca. Even I will get behind Mallorca, mate.
Well, thank you very much. Let's move on. Let's move on to Segunda B then, shall we? Because let's go over to your island, because Penya were the big story last week, and they're the big story again this week.
Well, what do you know, Richie? Because
unbelievable.
I mean, for those that don't know, Raul Cassan, the manager, left Penya at the end of the season. It was a very amicable split, by the way. I think he'd gone as far as he could with them. I think he was looking for a bigger job, Richie. I'll be honest with you. I think he thought the stock was high. He left. All his technical staff and his coaches left with him. There was rumours that they were going to go to a couple of teams in Segunda, also Atletico Balear. And what did you know? You know who replaced Raul Cassan at Penya this week, Richie? Do you know who's replaced him? It's Raul Cassan.
Brilliant. It's a great story. That's great, isn't it? It's a great story.
You know what I think has happened is, I don't think with what's happened with COVID and all things like that, a bit like we had the chat about the Mallorca coach waiting for a bigger job, he got this Spaniard job, and blah, blah, blah. I think he was looking for a big job. It didn't come out, and he thought to himself, something, I'm happy in Ibiza. Most of his backroom staff are actually from Ibiza. They live here. They've got families here. And I think maybe Penya just upped his wages a little bit. I don't know if it was money. I really don't know. But I just thought he was going, well, I've got no better offers on. I've started a job here as well. They've given me the terms that I've wanted. My backroom staff want to stay here as well. So let's give it another year. However, as we've seen with Penya already, they've got rid of several. Their two big players have gone already.
Why did they go? Were they gone because the manager went, or?
Well, I don't know. Well, Bernal, who I said to you last week, is one of their big players. He went to, I forgot what the name is now. It'll come to me in a bit. He's gone to another Segunda B side. However, that Segunda B side seem like they're spending lots of money. So I have a feeling that Pepe Bernal had an offer he couldn't refuse, because it's not really a step up in quality, to be honest. But I think a checkbook was thrown at him. And the other one, Igor Rocha, I think he went to Cornea, didn't he? And
no, Bernat went to San Fernando.
San Fernando, yeah, that's it.
And Rocha went to Rayo Majadahonda.
Majadahonda, yeah, of course, yeah. So I think Pepe Bernal had an offer he couldn't refuse. Whether he would have stayed or not, if Kassan would have stayed, I don't know. I think that would have been an interesting conversation because those two were very close. Pepe Bernal wears number 10. He's the heartbeat of that side. From Ibiza, his girlfriend lives here. You know, he's metido, as we say. You know, he's in Ibiza. So I think he had an offer he can't refuse. He's going to be a big hole to fill. But the fact that Kassan has done he's done more U-turns than the Conservative government in the UK at the moment, Rich. He's done the big U-turn. It's almost a 360, isn't it, that one? So he's come all the way around again. He's looking forward and he's going to be at Penya. So I'm quite excited about it, actually. No one knows that team like Raul Kassan. So I think, you know, last week I said they would probably be favourites to go down. I think now they're probably favourites to stay in the league. And you never know with Kassan, he might just find those one or two players that just push him on to the next level.
Well, according to Twitter this morning, they've signed 4 players already. Pau Pamar is one player that's come in. Also, another one, Colau Forner. These are quite a few these players are actually in Ibiza.
Yeah,
they've played in Ibiza for other teams.
They're going between Udi, Penya, and Formentera. The players are at the moment, so it's like a local, the best of the local teams. They're all coming in, aren't they?
Yeah, Iago Diaz was another one, and the other one was Andreo Hernandez as well. And as you say, yeah, most of them have actually played either over here in Mallorca or over there in Ibiza for one team or another. So, yeah, let's see. I mean, you know, I think it's probably a great signing for Penya, as you say. I think they might have struggled without him. They've now got him back. Hopefully, they'll do better than we thought they were going to do. Let's move on to, where should we go? Let's move, Atletico Baleares.
Yeah.
Who are another team
what's happening there, mate? Have they got a new manager in, or what's the?
Well, yeah, there's the new manager is Jordi Roger.
Roger.
We talked about that last week.
Yeah.
But there's 6 new signings coming this week. What have we got? Iñaki Olatorra, Luca Ferroni, Pedro Orfilla, Juan. I don't know. I can't pronounce that one. I'm not going to even have a go at that one, actually, to be honest with you. And you just look at it on the blog. And Jose Paris. But probably the most important one for them, and maybe for us as well, because obviously this is an English blog and everything else, Armando Chassoa.
Yeah.
And he was, you might remember his brother Sam. I did interview his brother Sam a couple of years ago. They were the 2 boys that were at Tottenham, and they've just signed Armando, who's the younger brother, on a 2-year deal from Tottenham. They've signed him on a free transfer. It's done. It's not a loan. He was on loan in January for the rest of the season. Looks like he's impressed the bosses. So he's going to be, he's signed, and he's going to be playing for the next 2 years. So I think that's a good signing for them.
I always like to have that little bit of English kind of football talent in the Balearics as well, mate, because it just keeps it, for us being obviously English people here in the Balearics, just keeps us a little bit more interested. I always like to follow their kind of journey there, and obviously his brother missed the big penalty for Atletico, didn't he, in the playoffs?
The playoffs, yeah, unfortunately.
Which was a shame. You know, we're English, we know all about penalty playoffs as well, penalty kicks. So at the end of the day, but I'm really keen on Atletico Balear this year, Rich. I think they're going to make a real go for it. I must confess. I think
they look like they're invested in the team.
Yeah.
They look like there obviously is money there, I think. It looked like they needed a new coach just to try and motivate the players, because they've been knocked out twice, in 2 years in the playoff stages. So they were top of the league, as you know, after their defeat, even after their defeat to Udi Ibiza before the lockdown. So at that point, they were the best team in the league. But unfortunately, yeah, they could convert it into promotion, which is a bit of a shame. So let's see. The other team over here, Udi Poblense, have kept faith with their coach Oscar Troyer. He signed a new deal with them this week. He brought them up from Tercera Division. That's the 3rd division here. They were undefeated actually in that league, which is a pretty good season. I think it was about 27 games undefeated, and then they beat Mallorca B, which is the sort of the younger players of Mallorca, who are sort of on the par of getting into the first team squad. Mallorca they beat them in the playoffs. So that's a good signing for Udi Poblense. As soon as the season starts, as soon as we're allowed anyway, I'm definitely going to go and watch them play because I don't really know too much about them. And I'd like to see them play.
I'm going to come over and we're going to do the rounds, mate. This summer, we're going to see all these outposts of football and Balearic football. I think it's our job to do this, Rich, because no one else is doing it.
Well, exactly, and I'm going to have to speak to the clubs about. We should get press passes. I think
absolutely. Well, I'll leave that to you.
Yeah, thanks, mate. Yeah. Either that or we have to buy a Bocadillo or something. I don't know, but anyway. News, I see Udi have signed a couple of players.
Yeah. I'm just looking now. I saw it this morning. The exciting one is Davo. Okay, he's, to give you his full names, Antonio David Alvarez. He's from Gijón, and he's an attacker. And I don't know a lot about him, Richie. He can play all positions up front, apparently. I don't know a lot about him, but there does seem to be a bit of excitement about this guy. He's only young. 25, I see he is. So he's only, he's a young lad. There was a lot of buzz yesterday when it came online that they'd signed him. There was a lot of buzz about it. So let's see what happens with Davo. He might be one to keep an eye out. What I do know is that, a bit like your guy at Mallorca and your Atletico Balear guys as well, we need somebody who can stick the ball in the back of the net. We need 25 goals a season minimum. And if you find that, that's why strikers go for the big bucks, Rich, isn't it? If you find that man who can score you 25 goals in the Segunda B, you're more or less going to go up. So, or going to have a chance of going up as well. So Davo looks like it's an interesting one as well. I see that we've also got, let's have a look, Kellyanne, which I really don't know anything about him. So we've got a new guy there. So, there's new people coming in and out all the time. I think Udi Ibiza is a little bit similar to Atletico Balear. I think they're going to throw the kitchen sink at it this year. And I think Amadeo Salvo seems to be who's a ex-president of Valencia, as I keep saying. Very, very wealthy man. Well, we think he's wealthy. You're never quite sure in football, are you? But very wealthy man. He looks like he's going for it again. I've met him a few times. I've interviewed him a couple of times as well. I've been in his company. He's a football maniac, yeah, and I think he's going to really go for it this year. And looking at these signings, I think we've got Soriano, who's the sporting director there, and I think all he does is just hovers around other teams and kind of looks at the players he wants. Then he asks the Prezi to get his checkbook out. Udi seems to be paying more wages. That they're paying fortunes in wages when you compare it to other teams in that league like Penya. And I've got a feeling that this might. You don't get too excited, but it could be their season. Well, I thought last season was their season, but it could be their season. But that's what football's all about, Rich, isn't it? It's the hope that kills you.
Exactly, and I've noticed this week that the boss, who is Juan Carlos Carcedo, who, for those that you don't know, was the number 2 to Unai Emery in pretty much every team that he went to. He's tweeting out this week, "My team and myself are joining a club that is a dream. We're taking up the challenge with responsibility, commitment and enthusiasm," he says. All in English, I note. So that's your homework, Mark. To try and get into you.
Well, I think when the season starts, at the moment, I'm not gonna. I think they're all a bit stressed at the moment. But when the season starts, mate, I think I often sit in the press box there anyway. So I think we'll ask for an interview and see if we can get him, especially at the start, because it's the start of the journey, isn't it, for him? And it's his first managerial role as well. So the nerves will be kicking in. I think the first game of the season, whenever that will be, by the way, with this week's news, it won't be before the 1st of October, as we know. Whenever that first game kicks in, I think the nerves will kick in for Carcedo. He's got a big job, Richie, because that president will not take second best. He's got rid of 3 managers now in the last 4 years, 3 managers, 4 years, which actually for football isn't the worst record anyway. He tends to give them at least 6 months, but I think it's one of those things. If he starts strong, 2 or 3 wins on the bounce, it could go on. If it goes the other way, mate, 2 or 3 losses on the bounce, watch this space.
You mentioned there about the fixtures and everything else. I'm not quite sure what the ruling from the government means to professional clubs. I know what it means to the local football, the non-professional clubs. Basically, they've all said that for the next 2 weeks, there's going to be There can be training at clubs, but it has to be non-contact training. And so, for instance, the club that my two boys are at are still carrying on. They've got their juvenile back, and the cadetti start next Monday. And as far as we're aware, that's still going to go ahead, obviously, but it's non-contact training. So it'll be a lot of physical stuff, I think, going on. Yeah. But when the actual fixtures start, I mean, the fixtures for Segunda are supposed to start on the 12th of September, which, as far as I'm aware, is still going ahead. Yeah. Segunda B, I would imagine, will be somewhere near the same. Obviously, right now, there's a bit of an argument going on about who's going down from Segunda, because the Fuenlabrada Deportivo thing has happened now. The game happened, and Deportivo actually did win, but they were already down. But there's lots of, counterclaims and counterclaims here, and who's going down and who's not going down. It's a bit of a mess, really, as always. Yes, exactly. But I've got a feeling that, professionally wise, I think they'll start as soon as they're allowed to start.
Yeah,
but regarding...
It's 15 days of nothing, I think, at the moment, isn't it? So 15 days, which will take us...
not playing competitive games, that's right.
Yeah, so I think 15 days at the moment of nothingness. I think they'll review it. I think the Spanish government, I've got to say, I think they're keen to get going as quick as possible with professional football, because they know how important it is to the Spanish people. And I think,
and I think also, I think you're right, and I think also for local football as well, because for a number of things, it gets kids out, playing recreation, it gets them playing football, but it gives the parents a break.
Yeah. Well, the funny thing is, my son's training training sessions are at 9:30 in the morning at the moment, so you can imagine how that's going down after a long summer. So I spoke to one of the managers at our local club today, actually. And, we were saying that, it's so important to get those kids back into routine and back training again, because they've had a very long, lazy 6 months, haven't they? Which I think for children, especially, our kids' age of between 10 and 16, it's a dangerous age for them just to be sitting around playing on their PlayStations and phones. So if anyone from the Football League is the Spanish Football League or the FFIB's listening, because I'm sure they'll be tuning in. Of
course, mate, tuning every week.
Absolutely.
Come on.
We need to get our kids back as well as soon as possible. We understand that safety is paramount. I would never say that, but there must be a way around. So let's get them back. Well,
they've put out the dates. They did put out the dates the other day, actually, for the start of all the sort of local football. The Tercera division, which should start on October 3rd. The Juvenile division on yet to be decided. Juvenile, National, Preferente and Regional will start on October 3rd. Cadettes will start on October 10th. Infantiles, October 17th. Alevins, October 24th. Benjamins, October the 31st. And Pre-Benjamins, October the 31st. So those are the actual dates that, as in matches, this is not training or anything. This is when matches will start. This has come from the FFIB website. I took it from the website itself. Those are the starting dates for matches to start in all those competitions.
I think that's doable. That's doable, Rich.
Yeah, I agree.
I think they've not put too much pressure on themselves there as well. So I haven't read that. I didn't know that, but that's the first time I've heard it from you, because obviously you do a lot more background than I do.
It's in the blog, mate.
Oh, sorry, mate. I will read it at some time.
That red blog.
But I think that's doable. And I think as I said, I don't want to keep going on about it, but let's get the kids back.
I agree. That's about it for today. I mean,
it's all right, man.
Pretty much everything.
Absolutely, mate. It's been a pleasure. I need to probably read your blog before anything, so I'll get on that straight away. And then I'm going to go and get my Subbuteo out, and Franny Lee, the little figure of Franny Lee with the big fat belly. I'm going to get him out.
Franny Lee.
Flicking him across the hall as we speak.
Just a reminder for everybody, if you want to follow us on Facebook, on Twitter and on Instagram, we're all there. Kicking the Balearics, of course. You can follow this. This will be out later on today on YouTube, of course. And then tomorrow it'll be out on podcast for you as well. So you can get that from all our social media and everything else. So have a good week, everyone. We'll see you next week.
Cheers, Richie. Have a great week, mate.
Take care, Mark.
Bye-bye now.
Take care.